Hey guys, so I am back with a new video, and this is going to be a review video or a product review video of two products that got sent to me by jetpens.com. Yeah, so it's actually my first one. I've never done this before, and I'm quite nervous, but at the same time kind of excited because, yeah. But don't expect too much though, because it is my first review. So it's probably not going to be that good. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you guys want me to do more reviews of my art materials, or the ones that I use, or the ones that I've newly purchased, or something like that, because I still do actually get questions on my art materials, even though I made a video specifically dedicated on my art materials. I don't know. So yeah, this video is quite long, so let's just get started. The first pen that I am reviewing is this Deleter Neopicoline 2, which it says here is acid-free pigment ink and waterproof ink. So we'll be testing this out with watercolors later in the demonstration. I've actually heard of this brand before. A lot of manga artists here on YouTube tend to use this brand, so I really wanted to try it out. And this is my first Deleter product. I got it in a 0.1 millimeter, and this is what the nib looks like. My first impression of this pen is that it looks quite intimidating because of all the pens that I've had, this metal tip is so thin and fragile looking, and for someone like me who isn't very careful with things, I thought that it would be easy to bend and break, but rest assured that didn't happen with the many times that I drew with this pen, so that's good. And yeah, that's that one. The second pen is something I've never used before, and I was actually really excited when I got this. It is a technical drawing pen. It's by the brand Koh-I-Noor. This is the Rapidus Sketch Art Pen, and it comes in this plastic case with a label on the front saying it's consistent performance, refillable ink system, stainless steel nib, and waterproof black ink. I got it in a 0.25 millimeter, which is actually weird because when I tried it out a couple of times, the lines that it produced were a lot thinner than the 0.1 Deleter pen. I'm just so confused as to which of the pens is wrong in nib sizing, because obviously 0.25 should be thicker than a 0.1 pen, but with these two it's the other way around. But anyway, the products actually came in this padded envelope, and you know, with any online shopping, you have to know that things can go wrong in the delivery process. I had the misfortune to receive this product with the case broken here. However, that doesn't really bother me since it's just a case and it's not really the product that's faulty. However, if it does happen to you, if you experience some kind of faults in the products that you receive, just contact them. They do have a refund policy, which is on their website, but obviously there are some terms and conditions that apply to that. The inside of this pen looks like this, with the pen here and the ink bottle. Since this is my first time using this pen, I had to do a little bit of research just to kind of get a general idea. The website also provides information about the product on the sidebar, which is good. I read that, and they also have information about technical pens just in general, also on their website. So when handling this pen, you have to be very careful, and I did try my best, but once again, it was very intimidating to use it. My dad, who has used this kind of pen, since technical pens are actually used by designers such as architects, he was telling me about how delicate the nibs were, and that fact actually scared me, and it put me off using this pen for a few days, but I eventually used it, and it didn't break, which is good, obviously. Yeah, so I put extra attention to how to put ink in, how you use it, and how you clean it, but I'm not really saying that I'm a pro at this. I mean, I've only used this for a few weeks, but yeah. How you put ink in is you just twist the cap off. You can basically disassemble this entire pen, but I wouldn't do that since the last time that I did it, I completely bent the nib inside, and you're not really supposed to do that, but I did, and I had a really hard time putting it back together. So once the cap is off, just twist the body off the top, and you get this. So this is the cartridge or barrel for the ink, which you can also just twist and pull off. Just take out the cap of the ink bottle and you just carefully put in a few drops in the barrel. You see this line here. Unless you're inking a really large drawing with lots of tiny details, and I would recommend only filling in below that line. The ink dries on the tip when you leave it unused for too long, and it's required that you clean this pen after every use. And it was totally emphasized on the website and with a lot of other information about technical pens that I've read, that you actually have to clean it out after every use. For me, I'm actually quite lazy, so I tried to test out its limit. I did have the ink inside this pen for 3 days. So on the first day, at night, I actually had the ink at around this high, which is on the line, and I used it for a few illustrations since that was a lot of ink and I wanted to use a lot of it, so yeah. I then left it for the night, and the next day I used it again. It was still fine on the second day, but on the third day at night, I actually noticed that the lines weren't as smooth anymore, which I took as a sign of drying out, and I immediately rinsed it out. Rinsing it out is quite simple, but you have to be very careful once again. Just disassemble the whole entire pen, flush out the leftover ink from the barrel and from the pen tip as well, and just submerge the parts on warm water, and just always have a towel or tissue paper around since it can get a little messy with the black ink kind of splashing around in the bathroom sink, so yeah. With this one, I just filled in half of the barrel, and now just put back the parts all together, tilt the pen down at an upright position to kind of let the ink flow freely, and that's about it. So let's get started with the demonstration. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about both the deleter and the Koh-I-Noor pen. So this is basically the inking of the drawing as well as the coloring, which will be later on. I am using the deleter as the main pen for this illustration since, as I mentioned previously, the 0.1mm pen that's supposed to be thinner than the 0.25 pen is actually thicker. So yeah, I just kind of played with the strengths of both pens, so I decided that the deleter would be better to use for the entire illustration except for the face and the dress details, which I will add later on with the Koh-I-Noor pen. For the deleter, the flow of the ink from this pen is actually quite smooth, definitely better than the ones I already have in my collection, well, some of it. Although I'm not saying that this is the best one or the best pen. It might be or it might not be, I don't know for sure until I've basically tested out every single black ink pen out there. Anyway, I do like this pen, and the brand is definitely something that I would want to work with in the future for my illustrations. I know that they have those deleter ink bottles and those deleter paper, which I've heard a lot of good things about, so I definitely want to use this brand in the future. I did expect this to be great because of what I've heard about it, and it lived up to my expectations, which is good. So as I did this illustration, I did a few tests here and there, such as the fade proof test, which tests if the ink fades when you rub off the pencil marks with an eraser, and this and the Koh-I-Noor pen were both fade proof, which is good. I also tested if they were waterproof, which they were, or they are. The ink didn't really smudge off or bleed when I used watercolor with it, and just to kind of achieve better results, I used watercolor paper with that. So both pens are true to what they both say they are, which is obviously good. For the Koh-I-Noor pen, I didn't exactly have the same high expectations with it like the deleter pen, since I've never really heard of the brand before, or, I mean, I have, because I have used a watercolor set from the same brand, and I did like it, but the brand didn't really stick to me like, you know, how other brands usually do. So, yeah, when I was browsing the website, this was actually the cheapest technical pen that I found. So because of that, I didn't really expect to be blown away by this pen. When it arrived, the packaging, the plastic case that it came in, it also didn't make me feel as if it was going to be a good pen. I have to say that although this pen didn't really exceed my expectations with, flying colors, it didn't disappoint me at the same time. So for me, it's a good pen, and that's kind of good enough for me. So, yeah. So holding it was actually a bit hard for me, or it was awkward since I've never really, had to use a technical pen before, and they're quite strict in a way that you have to hold it at a right angle to the surface for the ink to flow consistently. But since this is a sketching pen, as the name suggests, then you can still kind of get away with tilting the pen at an angle and ink will still flow. So I think that this pen is actually quite good for beginners if you want to delve into the whole technical pen kind of thing. Yeah. I was actually also expecting the paper to somewhat snag on the nib since it's quite sharp, and I have had previous experiences of it doing so, but I guess since I kind of tried to be extra careful this time when using the pen, that didn't happen, so that's good. It is a bit hard to control at first, but practice will obviously solve that easily. Aside from that, there aren't really any bad things that I can say about this pen. It is my first of its kind, and I'm quite pleased with it, and it's something new for my illustrations as well as for my skills, and yeah. I'm definitely going to recommend this if you kind of want to start using those more professional pens technical pens and fountain pens, which are a lot harder to use. So I think this is a good pen to start with. It's fairly cheap for its kind, and yeah. So overall, I am pleased with both products. They're great pens, and trust me when I say that, because I have had many experiences with horrible, cheap drawing pens before, and yeah. These two are actually better compared to some of the pens that I own right now. So that's something. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you guys like it. And yeah, the links of jet pens as well as the products are listed down below, so feel free to check those out if you want. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next one.